All right, reassembly mostly complete. I still have some shrouds and a fan and all that stuff to put back on, but for the most part, everything is back together. All my steering has been rebuilt. I replaced all the ball joints and all of the control arm bushings. I went with polyurethane for the control arm bushings and all Moog for my tie rod ends, ball joints, all that. I didn't replace the shocks right now. I'm gonna come back sometime in the spring when I have a little bit more money. I'm gonna redo the sway bar, the shocks. I'm gonna put new leaf springs on, all that stuff, sometime in the fall or in next spring when I have a little bit more money. This project cost a little bit more than I was anticipating, but that's the way these go sometimes. Like I said, I haven't put the fan back in or the shrouds, but I did replace the steering gearbox, and I also replaced the rag joint with the universal joint style from Cunningham Machine. I haven't driven it yet, but that thing is pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it. I did replace the power steering pump, and then idler arm and idler arm bracket, new pitman arm. Oh, and speaking of Cunningham Machine, I also got these beefy bad boys right here for the tie rod links. So coming around the other side, same thing on the other side. I ended up painting that upper A-arm, because when you take the old ball joints off, you grind the rivet down, and that gives you better metal. And I just went with blue because that was the color that was in the front of the cabinet. Ended up having to do a brake job. I had ceramics on there before, and one side was completely worn down, and the other side looked brand new. So I had some really bad drag on one of the calipers. So when I had it apart, I put some caliper grease in the sleeves there, and hopefully that fixes that problem. If not, I might be taking this back apart and replacing one of my calipers, but we'll see. Still need to do my oil change, but a lot less parts on the table now. I've got my connector rods for my tailgate. Something's happening, it's not open properly anymore, and that just developed, so I got some new connector rods and a new bezel. And then I got this power steering pump filter, but the one I ordered wasn't in stock, and they said that this one was in stock, but it turned out to be the wrong size. This is a 5/8. I think I need a 3/8. But, I'll take care of that. And this is the parts that are left. This is everything that was replaced. You can see all my tie rod ends the boots are completely shot. And the boots on the ball joints, same thing. One of my ball joints was completely shot. I don't know if I could do it one-handed, but there's quite a bit of wiggle there. The other one had some slop in it too, and 3 of my 4 tie rod ends were pretty much shot. And I figure if you're going through all this, you might as well replace the pitman arm and the idler arm and all that stuff. There's the old rag joint style. And then this truck's over, 23 years old. This is a 1999. So it wasn't a bad idea to just replace the rubber bushings. That's why we went with the polyurethanes. And then, this is just all my shrouds that I haven't put back in yet. Yeah, and then for the power steering pump, I had just replaced that back in 2018, maybe 2017. And so I didn't get the whole reservoir and everything. I just got the core. And then, you swap that out with the reservoir. And, it seems to be holding fluid just fine. So I think it'll work all right. It's a bummer that I had to replace the power steering pump so soon. But when my transmission went out, this truck sat for almost 3 years. And actually, it sat for 3.5, almost 4 years. And so things like this are going to go bad. I also had to replace the water pump. So it's just what happens. One bummer, though, is when I pulled this in, I realized that somewhere I've got one of my seals blew or something on my transmission, because I got transmission fluid like all over the place down here. So my next project will be troubleshooting that. I just rebuilt the transmission and the transfer case, and so there's probably just a seal somewhere that didn't get seated right or something to that effect. It's driving just fine. I'm not having any issues as far as that goes, so I'm not too worried about it. I just need to figure the seal out. But while I was under here and I had the torsion bars out, I took that rear cone off of the transfer case because when I had rebuilt the transfer case, there was a speed sensor ring on the back, and pulling it off, I munched this thing up pretty good. And I had one hell of a time finding a new one of these. I went to the local dealer. I mean, I went all over the place trying to find one of these. It says right on it, do not reuse. But according to the dealer, this is a discontinued part. And that's not the part number either. I'll post it in the blog what the actual part number is. But my speedometer, as I was driving, would be doing this the whole time. And so it was really annoying. I couldn't use cruise control or anything. So I'm hoping that replacing this ring will fix that issue, but we'll see. Anyways, I ended up finding that on eBay and got it all replaced. So now it's time to put the rest of the shrouds back on, put the fan back on, serpentine belt, and then put my fluids in and take her for a test drive. Alignment scheduled for a week from today. Fun project.